the moment. Now, Justin Trudeau has held on to power in Canada but has lost his majority. With most results in, Mr Trudeau's Liberal Party is ahead of the main challenger, the opposition Conservatives, led by Andrew Scheer. Well, the Conservatives are expected to win the popular vote, but that has not translated into seats. The Liberals are projected to win 157 seats, 14 short of a majority, which means that Mr Trudeau will be the leader of a minority government. As the results came in, there was a lot of excitement and relief at Liberal Party HQ in Montreal. Mr Trudeau told his ecstatic supporters they'd voted in favour of a progressive agenda by re-electing him. Well, with me now is Andrew MacDougall, who is Head of Communications for a former Canadian Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, and is now Director at the political consultancy Trafalgar Strategics. Thanks very much for joining us today. Why did the Conservatives not win this?
Well, I think that's the question they'll be asking themselves today and over the coming weeks. But I think what it comes down to is two things. Not having a bold enough agenda for the country. It's not enough to vote against Mr Trudeau. You have to give Canadians a reason to vote for you. And I think there they miscalculated and didn't really offer anything interesting, invigorating or inspiring to Canadian voters and weren't rewarded.
Justin Trudeau has very much become known around the world, partly in contrast to Donald Trump, I guess. But how much of this election do you think domestically was fought on the personalities of the leaders, or was it fought on policy?
I think it was more on the personality, and in particular, once Justin Trudeau knew that he was in a serious fight, his job was to scare all left-leaning voters back into his tent, the voters that had gone away thanks to the SNC-Lavalin scandal in Canada. He did a good enough job of getting the progressives back in line, saying if you vote for any of my alternatives to the left, you will get Andrew Scheer, and you will get less action on climate change, you will get less progressive policy. So they stuck with him despite Justin Trudeau. And
Justin Trudeau has huge publicity everywhere. I mean, he's very photogenic, charming character, clearly. And in a way, surprising that after 4 years in power, he wasn't able to get the majority.
Yeah, traditionally in Canada, you see a first-term majority government returned, especially as Justin Trudeau's had a very calm global economy, good job growth in Canada. He has things he can point to in government that he's done. But the scandals, again, over the last 2 years of his mandate bogged him down to the point where he couldn't run on his record, and he had to do a pretty nasty job on the opposition.
Was the blackface scandal recently, where he'd obviously all these photos emerged from? Was it important or not really?
It didn't end up being, and I think for one simple reason. I think people saw his record in government. The blackface was from 15 years ago. His record in government told a different story, more progressive, pro-minority, pro-immigration. So I think voters said, well, he might have been that way. But he's clearly changed since then.
And what will happen now in terms of the direction of the government if they've got to form a coalition?
Well, right now, Mr Trudeau has a couple of options for parties he can rely on to get a majority in the House of Commons. But I think the one thing that's common to both of them is that it will cost Canadians more through higher deficits. Mr Trudeau's already promised pretty hefty deficits year on year, and the price of the support of the New Democrat Party or the separatist Bloc Québécois will be steep, and he'll have to consider what he's willing to pay.
And what about the Conservative Party? Will they look to change leader or what?
Well, yeah, there will be talk of that, but I think it would probably be best for them to stick with Mr Scheer because we might be in an election sooner than we think.
OK, very good to meet you. Andrew MacDougall, thanks very much indeed for coming in today.